New York public schools to allow students to be absent for climate strike protests. However, absences by fed-up students who protest the lack of teaching in the classroom, they will still be punished. I'm Dr. Duke. She's Katie. This is the Dr. Duke Show. Hola, gringos and gringas, and welcome to the Dr. Duke Show, the only program that keeps you educated on the craziness impacting K-12 classrooms and college campuses globally. Today we're answering all your deep burning questions, not about burning, that you need to go see your podiatrist about that. Plus, New York's public schools cannot and will not seem to get anything right, from allowing students to cut class in the name of climate activism to a proposed ban on chocolate milk in the schools. That's racist. You're only promoting white milk. Superintendent Carranza is promoting white milk at the expense of chocolate milk. Unacceptable. And it's all because life is too good. The Big Apple continues to give Los Angeles competition for the title of worst public education system in the entire country. And our first story, New York City schools are going to allow kids out of the classroom without punishment to protest climate change. New York City schools will excuse absences for these students who wish to participate in climate strikes taking place at various locales on September 20th. Those interested will need parental permission, and younger students, like preteens, must be accompanied by a parent, according to a school district tweet. Quote, "We applaud our students when they raise their voices in a safe and respectful manner on issues that matter to them." Let's see what happens the next time Trump's in town and some of those kids want to go support Trump. Let's see if the same respectful manner on issues is allowed. I doubt it.
Well, what's so fun about this is that the district actually tweeted off of the mayor, Bill de Blasio, in his tweet, and he actually says about the Earth's destruction, "We have 10 years to save the planet." 10 years! Today's leaders are making decisions for our environment that our kids will have to live with. Will they? Because in 10 years, you just said that the Earth is going to be done. So what's the point?
And you're telling me we've wrought this kind of this havoc on the planet that 10 years is going to fix anything? And I love the fact that down the road, they're talking about scientists, right? The network. We have this activist network that's supporting this, right? It's called the Action Network. So again, you've got an outside radical leftist political organization who's funneling kids out of the public schools on a school day so they can participate in radical left-wing forms of activism. Again, how is this acceptable, right? This is not kids deciding they want to be gone. It's not mom pulling her kid out to go protest. This is the equivalent of Planned Parenthood protest, right? Same thing. Well, but I love this group. It's called the Activist. Right? The nature of this group is, what's the name of it here? It's called
Action
the
Network.
Action Network. And what do they have to say about this?
They actually wrote on their website, "Today, we're at a crossroads." I feel like there should be some music behind us. "Scientists say we have 10 years to stop the climate crisis. They say that failing to do so will be a death sentence for our generation. And yet, for the last 40 years, our political leaders have done almost nothing to protect our generation's future. That's why on September 20th, we are rising up to say no more. Young people around the world will strike from our schools and workplaces by the millions."
Try to provide some funereal music for you.
Nice. That was
And
nice.
I always love the fact that scientists say 10 years we're dead. They don't actually mean an actual person with a degree. They just mean some made-up cartoon character named scientist.
Well,
I'm convinced of this.
Well, yeah.
That when they say that, they never cite anybody.
We're also making up numbers because
That's
I
it.
thought we were at 12 years, and then all of a sudden it was 11. Now we're 10. This is rapid. Do they not know how to count? Oh wait, no, they don't.
I think all these activist groups they've got a mannequin in their basement in a lab coat, right? And he's got the name Mr. Scientist on it.
That's sexist.
So when they actually cite scientists saying these things, that's what they mean. Because I can't think of any scientists who are arguing that in 10 years the world's going to be dead.
Well, they're all ventriloquists and they're all puppeteering, so that all works. So yeah, we already had known all of this type of activism that's been happening for the past how many years now with the gun control or with the Green New Deal or with any of this, and it's just New York City is a place where it's a bastion for protesters to go and and not have to go to school. So if you want your kid to never actually learn anything, put them in New York City
That was
schools.
my tease at the top of the show. I mean, the New York schools, particularly the city schools, are doing horrendously bad. New York's one of the big cities where the kids are underperforming the national levels, which are really, really low in terms of achievement. But they can let the kids go. I mean, this is what you got, right? This is the same city where the wife of Mayor de Blasio, in a competition, as we talked about a few weeks ago, to diversify the statuary of New York City with more women, decided she was going to ignore the women who were actually voted in for statues and use drag queens.
Why not?
There you go.
Makes the most sense. And we see how the students are very ill prepared and underperforming, where in this next story we have New York City forcing those students who want to get their high school equivalency, we used to call it the GED, now it's called something else, they actually have to give up any special education services, and New York City has been fighting this. So as a condition for signing up for high school equivalency programs, students in New York City who have any sort of disabilities must give up certain special educational services, and they've been fighting this against the state and federal law for years, according to various records they've looked at. A report in the summer showed that the students were delayed in getting any special education services, or they didn't get them at all. But of course, the city has pledged to address this issue, and yet these students who want to have some sort of a graduation from high school, but they need some services, the city is just
real disabilities, real serious clinical disabilities that get in the way of a kid's or an adult's education. State of New York, it's just not hip. It's just not woke. It's not the kind of thing that's really sexy and exciting. So fake disabilities, right? Gender confusion and things like that, bullying, this kind of stuff, protesting climate change. That's the kind of stuff that they seriously devote their time to. Meanwhile, genuine students with genuinely learning problems, they're just kind of left out in the cold.
Well, Chancellor Richard Carranza says...
Back to Carranza.
The city education department is fully committed to action steps and timelines outlined in our response, but not until after September 20th because they got that climate change thing going on.
I just love it. I mean, we fully guarantee you that we have an action plan and we have a timeline.
We do.
We've got a timeline.
We have it
I mean,
all.
somebody sat on a computer and created a timeline. Do you not see how proactive we are to your learning disabilities?
This is true.
Who has not been helped and gratified by a timeline? I mean, every time I see a timeline, I'm thinking to myself, these are real-world solutions.
Wow.
This is proactive advocacy right here.
Right there. There are more than 224,000 students with disabilities in the city's public schools, and that population alone, just if those 224,000 would rank among the nation's 10 largest school systems.
That's 223,000 more than the kids who actually want to go protest climate change during the middle of a school day. Right?
This is true.
But we're not going to pay much attention to that. Maybe if the special needs kids wanted help getting out of school and going to protest, how much do you want to bet if they did that, boom,
Group
New
outing.
York would be right there. We'll provide buses and drivers, lunches. You could even, like Texas and Austin, right? You can even take a little diversion to get yourself an abortion. We'll do all that if you want to protest the left-wing causes.
And if you missed that was on yesterday's episode
Yes,
of
it
the
was.
Dr. Duke Show, so take a look at what he's talking about with Austin, Texas. But they're saying that of these 224,000, nearly a quarter of them don't receive all of their required services. And so New York City has been fighting against the state, who has been coming down on them, and federal, who's been coming down on them. But again, Carranza said we have the plan, so everything will be okay.
I say the easiest way to handle this is turn special needs into a protest against climate change or heteronormativity, and these issues would be immediately addressed at the state and city level. Immediately.
Probably is. At the same time, because we talked about all the fake disabilities or any of the issues that New York City likes to do, New York City will also has a diversity panel, because this diversity panel was formed in an effort to make it so they want to scrap the gifted and talented program.
Yep.
Because that's just...
It's not fair.
It's not fair.
Smart
It
kids
just
should
isn't.
not get extra treatment.
Yeah.
And the argument here is that first of all, you've got a diversity panel that advises Carranza.
And de Blasio's the one who formed it back in 2017.
Yeah, you don't have a let's all learn math committee, a program. You don't have an outside committee for literacy. But what you do have is a diversity panel. And ironically, the relatively small number of gifted and talented kids don't represent diversity.
No, of course
No,
not.
the fact that most kids aren't gifted and talented, and that most gifted and talented kids form a minority, we don't consider that diversity. School diversity panel created by de Blasio in 2017, which was supposed to tackle segregation of schools, now wants to get rid of the gifted and talented program and other forms of academic screening in the city schools. And the argument is that these programs perpetuate racial inequality since mostly white and Asian kids. So guess what, Asians? Once again, you're lumped with whitey. Just get over it and join us cisgendered white men on the ash heap of history. You teach your kids too seriously. Your moms are too involved. Your kids work too hard. They're too bright. You're just as bad as white people. Time to just chalk it up. Come and vote. Hey, Asian Americans, come and vote with whitey. Because it's abundantly clear that all the social justice warriors see you as part of the problem.
Well, that's a sales pitch right there.
There you go. Asians, the best way to get back in the good graces of the progressive left is turn out stupid kids. Turn out lazy, stupid, feckless kids, and right away you'll be back on the right side and you won't be lumped in with white men.
Well, according to the report, the city gifted programs do not serve a 21st century, I love it, 21st century educational mission and unfairly block educational opportunities for students who are Black, Latinx,
Listen
and
to
low
that.
income Latinx.
They're telling you, America, that the purpose of a 21st century education is not to get kids as far ahead as they can, not to turn kids into brilliant students and then active contributors to the workforce. No, that's not what we want. The purpose of 21st century education is to hold down high achievers, to make Black and Latinx students feel less discriminated against. Literally, this is what they're telling you.
Anytime I see Latinx, I'm like, oh, this is going to be horrible.
Sounds like something you take if you've eaten bad Mexican food.
That's what, exactly. So this it's called the School Diversity Advisory Group. Ooh. They also called on de Blasio and Richard Carranza to ditch the current, gifted and talented system according to their recommendations. And they also recommend tossing out any academic admission screening for the middle and most of the high schools that they have.
Yes. So no grades. Right, you can't screen kids anymore.
Can't do it.
In other words, you can't even test for kids who are above this curve or below it then, right? Because that screen goes both ways, right? So in other words, every kid should get the same diploma, should get socially promoted every year. Every kid should graduate. No one's ever held back. Kids who are high and advanced can actually be artificially held down. Kids who know nothing have to be forwarded along with everybody else. And there's no other way you can look at this. This is what they're telling you the 21st century education is. And with all due respect, we've been saying this for years.
Oh, yeah. Well, in de Blasio's own words, every child, regardless of zip code, has the right to attend a school where they can thrive. I thank the School Diversity Advisory Group for all their hard work to promote equity and excellence across our system. And I look forward to reviewing their recommendations.
Equity and excellence. How can you say that? How can you say that in the same sentence? It's an oxymoron.
Yes, it is.
You cannot promote. You just said you're not going to. Where excellence has occurred, you're snuffing it out like a cheap porno film from the 1930s. You are snuffing out academic excellence in the name of equity. You are not promoting both of them. This is the worst kind of doublespeak, and it comes out of the mouths of progressive educrats almost more than anybody else in this culture.
Yes, it does. Do you want me to read the Carranza quote?
Yes.
Okay, Carranza, also back in February, sarcastically said, when you have over 35% of your students be designated as gifted and talented, we need to bottle the water we're drinking and ship it all over the place, because that is far beyond the percentage of gifted and talented that, from a statistical perspective, should be found in the population. So you don't want your kids to be gifted and talented. No, thank you, Carranza.
No, he's mocking high achievers as being liars, while socially promoting kids who can't read. There's got to be a verb. We got to turn Carranza into a verb. Remember Costanza? You Costanza'd this up, right?
Carranza.
It's a verb now, to Carranza. To basically lie about, to treat educational achievement as racism and to teach educational ignorance as opportunity. That's to Carranza.
Well, he Carranza'd this next story.
Rich Carranzian leather. Have you Carranza'd lately, America? Have you ever done something so thoroughly at odds with reality that you can label yourself Carranza?
Well, he Carranza'd himself. Tell me about how he Carranza'd.
New York City Public Schools, again, Carranza advocates a ban of chocolate milk. Apparently, chocolate milk has achieved more than white milk. Chocolate milk, 35% of kids, 85% of kids prefer chocolate milk to white milk. And so therefore we have racial inequity.
Yes.
And so chocolate milk is going to be the answer. We have to get rid of it. The New York City Department of Education wants to ban chocolate milk from all public schools, the Post has learned. The New York Post, citing health concerns, including sugar content, school chancellor
Richard Carranza,
the walking verb, and his underlings are pushing for a white milk only policy. The thinking is that these kids are already getting too much sugar, which is why are they getting it in their milk as well? One DOE source said, adding that higher-ups, quote, are discussing what to do and how to do it. Again, protests, leaving classroom, destroying gifted and talented programs, and now monitoring your kids' milk. This is what the public schools in New York are doing. Meanwhile, nobody can read.
And they're just sucking on the teat of other things than cows.
Is it a chocolate teat?
Is it chocolate teat? That's a good question.
That's what we want to know.
Why is it that I know why, but why is it that they always attack milk? Just in general, and this time specifically the chocolate milk. And I get that, yes, chocolate milk has a little bit more sugar than white milk does, but I'm kind of disappointed in them because realistically, I would think they would push for soy or almond and say that they would try and get rid of the white milk.
Why not just get rid of milk, right? Because I think they recognize that parents and the country at large are not ready for that.
Well, this whole thing is silly.
The whole thing is silly.
Whatever.
And, we thought when Michelle Obama left the White House, we thought there would be a return to education, to dietary sanity in American public schools, but that was before the rise of Carranza. Carranza.
Cheers with your white milk only
I see him
Carranza.
in a little Zorro mask, right?
Oh, jeez.
With a little ruler instead of a sword. Carranza.
Carranza.
Yes, I've Carranza'd you.
Well, according to a mother, it would be awful to take away people's chocolate milk. That's a 10-year-old actually said it. Her mother talked about how removing the milk won't solve schools, but a 10-year-old has the most wisdom. It would be awful to take away people's chocolate milk. I agree. Her name is Katerina. Nice job, 10-year-old
Katerina Di Tomasa.
She's probably the smartest one. She should go serve on the committee who's deciding whether or not this actually happens.
She's a Brooklynite. And her mother, Joanna, argued that removing chocolate milk won't solve schools' dietary problems.
It won't.
A statement of objective fact.
How dare she?
Right? The schools serve other sugary drinks that are no better, juices and sodas, and that's it too. You're going to come after milk, right? Chocolate milk has more sugar than white milk, so you're going to get rid of that. But then don't you have to get rid of all fruit juices?
Well, if you want to do a breakdown, I could give you the whole macro count of all of this stuff. The main thing, milk does more than just have that sugar content, which a lot of it's natural, although in chocolate milk they will put some in there. But at least it gives you calcium and some other nutrients, whereas if you give this all the other processed food and crap food and drinks and soda and all the garbage that these kids are ingesting every day when they go to Starbucks, and I see it on a daily basis, you can't fault chocolate milk in the least. That's like the least of your worries.
It is, and Joanna actually nailed it. This mother said, the real problem is that New York City lunches are unhealthy in general, all prepackaged and full of preservatives.
Yeah.
That's right. But you're going after milk, right? That's like arguing that we're not going to worry about the candy, because the candy we're feeding your kids at lunch is actually dark chocolate, not light chocolate. Higher values, right? Meanwhile, in spite of that, we're going to go after that, and we're going to ignore the big heaping preservative fried chicken nuggets that these kids are eating, right? This is what you do at the public schools.
Non-real chicken, and again,
fake chicken.
Our agriculture,
exactly.
Yep, all the farmers are the ones who will be hit by this whole thing. And other big cities across the nation have tried this. LA tried to do this years ago,
San Francisco
8 years
did
ago. And then they found, oh, wait a minute, the kids are not happy, and so they had to bring it back. Shocker, right?
Right, and so what was happening was all the white milk was being thrown out.
Yeah, so they're wasting all milk.
Right?
And then that affects the farmers,
That's
and it affects Jeez Louise.
I remember when Michelle Obama's lunch program in Los Angeles County was all this green stuff, and it wasn't fresh, it was wilty.
Oh, yeah.
And literally you had pig farmers who were driving up to the garbage bins, in the back of the public schools, and pulling out all that produce that the kids had thrown out and feeding their pigs with it.
Dumpster diving.
Hundreds
of
thousands of dollars a month in waste that because of the stupid gerrymandering of lunch programs by a woman, Michelle Obama, whose own kids went to a private school with a copious menu of food. Sidwell Friends. You ever get a chance to look at the menu, the luncheon menus for Sidwell Friends, where many of the presidential children go to school, including the Obamas? You and I don't eat that good on our Valentine's Day dates with our wives. We don't eat that good.
All right, well, It is that time. We're going to Office Hours, another edition of Office Hours. We look to you, the people, and we asked, what do you want to know about us? Do you have any grilling questions for Dr. Duke or for myself? And you know what? You gave us some. So we're going to start this month's Office Hours with Karen from Bristol, Tennessee. She asked Dr. Duke, transgender LGBTQ is not the real issue, the same as abortion is not the real issue. So, in your opinion, what is the real issue that is promoting this trans agenda in schools and colleges, not only in America, but globally?
And this is one of our great listeners and a remarkable education activist herself. There's only one Karen B., right, in Bristol, Tennessee. And Karen, that's a great question. It's an insightful question. And I think, among other things, there are many answers to it. One of the things that's going on here is that sexuality and gender, transgenderism, is being used as a very powerful wedge to divorce America from its moorings, its traditional moorings, its Judeo-Christian moorings. I think more than almost any other aspect of American culture, that includes race, that includes poverty, that includes bullying, that includes low scores, more than any other aspect, I think the progressives have found that there is more innate sympathy for issues of sex and sexuality than there are anything else. And I think the left has figured out that by pushing that particular wedge, they're doing much more than legitimizing these things, these sexualities. What they're doing is they're using them as a fulcrum, right, the lever point where they can begin to pry open 245 years of Judeo-Christian values, of common sense, the rule of law and science and logic. Those things now have to be undone. It's the same people who have told us 10 years ago when we had the gay marriage debate that this is science. That what we're doing here is prosecuting the science, right? We know that we don't really actually, but they told us at the time that we know that homosexuality can be traced to this particular gene or it's biologically can be helped. Notice in the space of 1 decade, and that we're using transgenderism to take apart science itself, right? It doesn't matter what biology says. It doesn't matter what biology says about your gender or sex. None of that matters. If we can actually get to the point, and they're succeeding, where we can get people to ignore biology and science in favor of something that is completely subjective, then everything's off the table. I mean, you're looking at a brave new world. They're going to remake the country from the ground up in their own image.
All right. Well, Ben in Oak Park, Illinois says, hey guys, I'm a longtime listener. I just joined the Patriot Club. Thanks for everything you do. Can't wait for the goodie bag. Thank you, Ben. And you too can join the Patriot Club. Just go to drdukeshow.com and you'll get your own goodie bag. And every 3 months, you'll get a gift too. So anywho, back to Ben's question. He says, my question to you is, now that school is back for the fall, what should I be doing every night with my children to ensure they aren't being indoctrinated?
I mean, the first thing you got to do, Ben, is get them to talk to you about what goes on in school. Let them, if they talk to you, if they begin to explain to you, and you should know their schedule. You should know the classes they're taking, right? I know that she has English in the morning and she's got math in the afternoon. Just be methodical. Okay, over the last 2 days, it's Wednesday. You've been in class Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I want a rundown. Sit down with dessert, right? Have a nice family meal. Sit down with your daughter for dessert, right? Have a nice pie or a tart or some kind of
pumpkin pie
some
almost.
Tiramisu or something,
Ooh,
and sit there while she's eating her dessert and just ask her, okay, I know you had a couple of days of math. What'd you guys learn in math class? If you do that, you'll get the dessert itself is going to loosen things up. You'll be able to talk to her. She'll be more eager to talk to you that you're feeding her chocolate milk. Give her chocolate milk, right? And she'll talk to you more, and then you're going to find horrifying things out, and then you have choice. Either rip your kid immediately out of school or spend a lot of time every evening unteaching what she's learned.
And I just want to add on to that one. I do this with my kids at the apple orchard I work at, and they're high school kids, and they don't want to talk. So they just have the conversation. Don't grill them. Tell me exactly what you learned in math today. Just have the conversation like you said. And I think that goes a long way to not only communicating with your kid, but showing you have interest in what they're doing and what they're interested in too. So nice job, Ben. Well, Mary in Scottsdale, Arizona says, hi, Dr. Duke and Katie. This is a random question, but I'm curious to know if you could have any other profession, what would you be doing?
I've often thought about this, and I think that if I had my way, I would be a high-level musician.
Really?
Somebody who could play the piano, the cello, somebody who could play pretty much any instrument. If I could be that person, I could do most of my life locked in a musical world that has nothing to do with other people.
Interesting.
It would be awesome. I mean, if you had that kind of musical talent, the world of music could occupy your time so you wouldn't have to deal with people.
I love writing, which is what I already do, so I'd probably be more professional in writing. from New York City.
It's our last one, right?
New York.
Grayson.
This is the last one. And poor Grayson lives in New York City. Carranza. Says, I'm a freshman in college. Well, good luck, Grayson. I already have professors trying to shove down my throat the stuff you two are always warning us against. Well, thank you for watching the show as well. Do you think I should speak up in class, which may risk my grade, or should I keep quiet and get the A?
My thought is it's situational, right? Is this a course in your major? Is this a course that's going to matter for you to get into an education college, for instance? Do you have to have a certain GPA in certain subjects to be able to get certain letters of recommendation? It's utterly situational. My general response is to speak the truth. You will always feel better later in life that you spoke the truth rather than you sold out for an A. However, I'm hesitant to give this advice to you. If you know for a fact that you may lose a grade or two, you may drop down to a B or C, but you have certain requirements to get into this college or major in that major. So it is ultimately situational, but I will tell you this. I have never met anybody who has told the truth about any serious issue who later in life regrets it. And you won't either.
And that's actually another week in the books for us, and it's the same books that are not being opened in New York City as we've described on today's episode. But as always, make sure you share this episode and subscribe to the free audio podcast on iTunes, SoundCloud, and everywhere else. Just visit drdukeshow.com and subscribe. Again, it's free.
And that's a wrap on another week. We'll be back again Monday at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time for Freedom Project. I'm Dr. Duke. She's Katie, and I don't, my friends, I don't always talk education. But when I do, I prefer the Dr. Duke Show. Stay educated, my friends.